Maria and the ships at sea, Jorge. What a long episode to have nothing really happen. Oh, hey! Hi! It's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with a Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 10, Episode 12, the Final Four. And all I have to say is, Jorge, drink me! Oh, what is this? This is the patio, Wayla's patio beer. We made a cocktail tonight. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go to my playlist, Wilma at Wayla, for today, which is June, what is it, the 14th? 14th. Is it the 14th, Jorge? It's the 14th. And it's the first video. We always do the drink tutorial. And this is basically beer, Campari or Apparelli or whatever the heck. I don't know. It was very grapefruity. I didn't like the grapefruity. It was a little bitter. Just gonna say, this one's Campari and ginger ale. Canada Dry if you got it, because it's the Canadian champagne of ginger ale. That said, all right, Jorge, let's see how well you mixed it. Because it's a beer base, I don't feel you could have gone wrong. All right, so this week's episode, we started off by saying bye to Cracker. And, I think that it was very interesting for the girls to be down to the bottom for this week. And there was a lot of introspection. Normally it's just, emotions and issues and anger. But this week we had Asia, who seemed to be running under theme to last week's Untucked, talking about what she said about Cracker. That should be the name of a fringe play. I'm just saying, what was said about Cracker? And of course, we all know Asia said she didn't have star quality. And it was interesting for Asia in the confessional environment saying that she felt badly about what she said about Cracker, which was that she didn't have star quality. Well, coulda, shoulda, wouldas. Here's the thing I felt about Asia, and it became very apparent in this segment of RuPaul's Drag Race, was that she didn't think Cracker had star quality. Compared to her and Cameron, and no offense to Cameron, God bless, yum, 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 get me some, I think that Cracker has more star quality. And I think that Asia said what she said about Cracker because she was intimidated by her, because she all but said the same thing about Eureka in the workroom. I mean, in the post-elimination lounge. She said that Eureka wouldn't be in the top three, that it would be her, Cameron, and Aquaria. And I think the reason she picked Eureka out of the rest of them is she's the biggest threat for her. I think Eureka is loud and is over the top and is a fan favorite, especially with those judges, especially when she delivers the way the judges want her to deliver. Eureka can do no wrong. And I think it's thrown Asia off her game a little bit. She seems to be always making those calls, and that just makes me think sometimes, well, bitter doesn't always make for the best contestant on Drag Race. Evie O'Hara. But before Aquaria could blow her own horn a little too much, and rightly so, God bless, 3 wins, shut your face, there was Ru with this week's main challenge, which was to perform her absolutely patriotically pride-inspired anthem, America. And the girls had to write a song, or at least a verse, perform some Martha Graham, Fosse inspired, well, I mean, that's what we were promised. No offense to Todrick Hall. Choreography, and they had to do an interview on What's the Tea. So, right away we could tell that Eureka was pooping in her padded panties yet again. And this was interesting for me. This was a very galvanized situation in, I think, everyone who ever wants to be on RuPaul's Drag Race, take note of this. Eureka embraced the whole situation. Is she a choreography girl? Absolutely not. She would never tell you she is. Is she a singer? She all but says that she can't do that. The whole idea of singing and talking at the same time, we've all seen how far that got her, bless her heart, the only time she's been in the bottom. And yet she just went into this full gusto. Pardon me. I had beans at dinner. But seriously, she went in with the right attitude. She thought, okay, I can't sing, I'm gonna rap. And she went in there listening to Todrick. Todrick said more of this, less of that, and she gave it to him. The choreography, no, she didn't get it right away, but she made an effort and she put it all together, and she looked fantastic. And That's the way you do this challenge. I have to say, the only other way I would want to do this challenge is the way Aquaria did it, which was in complete denial and oblivious to how much I sucked. I'm just saying that because, ooh, what a bad edit for Aquaria. If anyone was going to be set up for failure, it was your Aquaria in that edit. Bless these girls with the headphones on who don't sing. Can you do it an octave higher? Sure. And they sing it the same way. Bless them. Cameron had the same problem. Bless. But the difference between Cameron and Aquaria is Cameron pulled it out of the fire. She went up the octave. She sounded better. She did a great job. Aquaria walked out of that recording session thinking that she had slayed and that Todrick was in love with her. Well, Todrick was in love with her, but not because of her singing. Seriously. The one girl that I was thoroughly impressed with was Asia. I thought she was going to just, chew a bit of hard cheese, but she really pulled out a fire. She listened to what Todrick said. She made the right changes as she was directed to do. And got her rhythm on point, got her voice into key, and let's face it, between her and Aquaria, I think that their new names after that presentation of RuPaul's America, their versions of it, it should be Aquaria Tune and Asia Tune, because they sounded way better in the performance than they did when they were in the studios. But again, I'll have to say, Aquaria sucked the hardest bit of cheese, is all I'm saying, seriously. The other side of this challenge was, of course, their interview on What's the Tea with RuPaul and Michelle Visage. And, this is always hard. I think some people are born to talk about themselves. Eureka. And she did a great job. She had stuff to talk about, too. She's got a great story, sadly, in the fact that her mother isn't well. It gives them something to talk about that isn't drag, it is life, it's real, it's happening. A lot of people have gone through this with members of their own family so they can relate. Cameron having that whole moment with Ru and Michelle about his father and those issues. I mean, literally, we can all just stand in the line for who had father issues. I mean, we all had, whether there was one there or not. And so Cameron certainly isn't alone, but his experience certainly made for an interesting interview. Aquaria was great because she's dynamic and she was fun, and what they talked to her about was fun. Winning and being young and loving fashion and all of that. The one girl I felt that stumbled in the What's the Tea interview, of course, was Asia. And I think because she's guarded. You know what she's like? She's like Madonna. I'm going to compare Asia O'Hara to Madonna right here and now. There, side by side. And here's why. It's not a good reference. Madonna's a very guarded person when you see her interviewed. She's always looking up, she's thinking, she's not really paying attention to the interviewer, she's trying to think of the right thing to say. And I felt that Asia in that whole interview was giving pageant answers. And it was very entertaining and fine and met all the criteria, but there was no warmth in it. There was no reveal of her as a person, which I felt the other girls all did in some way and set them apart from her. Part of the challenge, I'm just saying. I don't know how many points it was. It may not have been any points. Maybe just Michelle and Ru were looking for voices to fill their podcast. I don't know. I'm not judging. The one thing that happened during What's the Tea interviews was Ru and Michelle thinking that Asia looked younger than 35. Now, I'm not reading her, and this isn't at me throwing shade. I think she looks 35. She looks about there. I'm not surprised by that. But what I was surprised at was her saying that she had lost both her parents at a young age of 27. I am not saying that losing a parent or both of them, even on the same day at any age, is easier or worse than others. But when you say to somebody, I lost my parents at a young age, and then you hear they were 7, then you can imagine the struggles a 7-year-old had up till now. Or at 17, those are developing years. You can understand the struggle. At 27, if you're talking to your parents once or twice a day, you're not in the majority. I'm just saying. At 27, your parents are lucky if they see you at Christmas in some cases. Again, I'm not dismissing Asia's experience or her relationship with her parents or any of that, but I just thought it was funny that she thought 27 was young, especially when she looks 35. One of the things I thought was really interesting this episode was Todrick Hall. He seemed to be getting his flirt on with Cameron and Aquaria. First of all, you could tell that he was interested in Cameron because of what he said about the runway. But there was also that whole moment in Cameron's singing part where her voice cracked, and Todrick said, "Fuck the crack." I can't believe I just swore on my own review, but she did. That's what she said. She said it, and I bet he would like to. I'm just saying, it just seemed to be the right thing to say about the right queen at the right time. I think that should be the name of Cameron's one-woman show. F the crack. I'm just saying. The other person that he was flirting with was, of course, Aquaria. Well, Aquaria's choreography during the rehearsal was flawless. She was fast. He said she was fast. He loved how great she was. And then she had that little emotional moment on the sidelines because she couldn't believe where she was. And, of course, Todrick loved that, too. Carry on. I'm serious. That whole moment that he had with Aquaria where he said, "I'm a judge. I can't be flirting with you," made me giggle a little, I'm just saying. So the girls hit the runway, of course, with the performance of America, and I thought everyone did well. I don't think any of them did a bad job. I was really surprised at how well Aquaria and Asia ended up, but then with these things, Ru's not going to let a dead verse go out onto the iTunes because, seriously, she hasn't let herself do it. Why would she let another queen ruin a song of hers? I'm just saying. But everyone danced well, it looked good, and then they had to do the runway. And here's the thing. I was impressed with some of the girls' runway. Aquaria, fantastic. But I thought Detox wore something like that, and the judges hated it. Maybe that was back in the Santino days, and that's probably why. But again, if you're going to have a fashion reference, Detox is not the worst fashion reference to have for somebody as cute and tiny as Aquaria. But that dress was gorgeous. And then, of course, there was Asia. I'm not saying that it was a bad dress or bad choice. It was very interesting. It was definitely on a theme. I didn't like it. It wasn't the best for me. But it was well constructed, and she wore it beautifully, even with the gold and the thing and the cha-cha-cha. Then there was, of course, Eureka. I didn't like this dress. I am sorry, I was disappointed. The only person that disappointed me on this runway this week was Eureka. Yes, it was fun. Yes, it was fabulous. I loved the printing on the dress. Her makeup was fun. But I just wish she had worn something brilliant. But that said, she wore something brilliant almost every runway. There was that one jumpsuit thing that moved and changed. That was the only not brilliant thing, and it was still fabulous. So for her to wear something on purpose that wasn't as fabulous as some of the stuff that she wears, okay, I can stand by her choice. But the girl that killed this runway was Cameron. That dress, J-Lo couldn't afford to have that dress on her back. J-Lo wouldn't look half that good in a dress like crystal and delicious. And I think that we have done Cameron a disservice this whole season by not talking about how brilliant his transformation is. He goes from that cute little muscly, and let's just be honest, as far as muscle queens go, he is an anorexic muscle queen. Let's just say, I heard you. I'm just saying, Cameron is not as muscly as he could be. I've seen musclier queens. I'm just saying. But the transformation he makes to her is gorgeous, and nothing was more gorgeous than her whole outfit. Maybe Aquaria's wig, that was gorgeous too. But Cameron's look on that room was stunning, and her performance in the song was great. And I have to say, when it came down to these four girls being judged for a potential sachet, of course Ru had them all lip sync together. And you know, the worst song for anyone to lip sync to, God bless Ben de la Creme, because she did a great job on her All-Star season with it, is Call Me Mother. And I think the fact that it was being used, obviously because when they recorded this, it was before the whole Azalea Banks and hating people and saying hateful things and all of that drama. But I thought it was a great lip sync choice because literally the girls stood there and lip sync. There was very little time for them to do anything more than make sure they were hitting every word and every break. Then once it broke down a little bit and they could all strut it out and all that, it was good. I thought they all did a great job. I can't remember any of them disappearing. They all had a moment that worked. if I was going to pick somebody as being less interesting, it would have to be Asia, only because her dress was restrictive. She could only move so much, and with the nails, I think she was afraid of putting out an eye or some such thing. But short of that, it was a great lip sync, and rightly so, as we all expected, and we hate Ru for. I mean, seriously, RuPaul, just send someone home. Sweet Christmas. You got one job. That and selling her old song list, I'm just saying. That said, all 4 girls to the elimination. Who do you think should be queen? Well, they're going to do the lip sync like they did last year, which is them drawing numbers and pairing up, and then who and what. And I like this. I have to say, I think that Aquarius should win based on this. But because of how this is going to fall out, it still could be anyone. Cameron could kill everybody. Eureka could eat everybody. The whole point is, it is anybody's game. Next week, it's the reunion. They'll be crowning Miss Congeniality, so you got to tune back in next week. And then we got another week for the finale. Sweet Marie and the Ships at Sea. This has got to be one of the hardest seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race to watch. For good reasons, for bad reasons, and for emotional reasons. I'm so serious. If I cry one more time, I'm just saying, I might have to stop drinking. But it won't happen. So, in the meantime, make sure you like this video, make sure you share this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel, and until next week when we compare notes, miss me! Mwah! Seriously, Jorge, I'm enjoying this patio here.
It's yummy.